Now, breaking news from KXAN News.
That breaking news from Austin Police Headquarters. Chief Acevedo says officers have arrested a person responsible for throwing rocks at cars along Interstate 35. Police sources say this is the man that did it, 59-year-old Pat Johnson. This is a previous mugshot from a 2013 arrest. Let's go live to APD Headquarters where Acevedo is speaking right now.
Into that phase, Lieutenant Richmond, Lieutenant Thomas from Organized Crime Division, Chief, I'm not going to introduce, no, I'm kidding. My chief right here. Another Chief Gay, who's actually really involved, Frank Dixon, by the way, Commander Deaton from Organized Crime Division, and Lieutenant Galloway. This series of events actually has been going on for nearly 2 years, and I'm very proud to announce today, Chief Dixon, I did say Chief Dixon, right?
You did.
Yeah, okay. I really am proud to announce that we have made an arrest of an individual that is well known to this community, at least to City Hall. You know, he frequents City Hall and actually is well known there. His name is Patrick Eugene Johnson. He's a white male, 59 years of age. Mr. Johnson has been arrested and has been charged as of now for 1 count of attempted aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which is a third-degree felony, and he's being held on a $250,000 cash bond. $250,000 cash bond, not 10%. He has to pay the entire amount. I want to say, first of all, that this case was a priority for the police department. A lot of folks don't understand that you know it's a really tough set of circumstances when you're dealing with freeway traffic at the speeds that are involved, where people don't even know they've been hit sometimes. They don't stay at the scene. And so we have been looking for a needle in a haystack, and we believe that Mr. Johnson is not only responsible for the count involving 1 count of attempted aggravated assault involving University of Texas Police Department officer on earlier this month, where the officer was not injured and was not struck, but that officer nonetheless was a victim. But the most important piece that I want to announce today, that is, we've had about 94 cases involving this series of events, and we believe that by the time we're done putting together our case, that Mr. Johnson will have been responsible for the lion's share or for a good majority of those cases. In fact, we are very confident that by the time we're done putting together our investigation and going through all the evidence that we have gathered, that we will be able to charge Mr. Johnson not just with many counts of aggravated assault, attempted aggravated assault, but we're very confident that we will be able to charge Mr. Johnson with attempted murder. As you all know, that we've had 3 individuals out of that 94 series of cases that have been significantly injured, and that but for the grace of God, they were not killed by Mr. Johnson and his conduct, his deadly conduct. And so this police department believes strongly that we will be able to make cases of attempted murder against Mr. Johnson in the near future as we work this case. To the victims in this case, it's very important that you understand that we are confident that Mr. Johnson not only attacked you, not only assaulted you, not only tried to kill some of you, but we're confident that he, after committing his crimes, these vicious, cowardly crimes, turned back and came back to the scene. Came back to the scene, acting as a good Samaritan, acting as he was a witness, acting as if he cared. And I'm here to say that he didn't care. But we are going to release to the media his booking photo, and I'm sure some of you are already putting his photo up because he's a known member, person in this community. But we're going to release his booking photo, and what we ask the victims in this series of events, that to take a hard look at that photo, because there's a high probability that Mr. Johnson came back to the scene and actually contacted you. Although we are going to reach out to each victim in this series of cases individually, we also ask the media to put that out, please, in your sound to this community that has been victimized, to please take a hard look at that picture and give us a call. Having said this about Mr. Johnson, let me add this. This case was given to the Organized Crime Division, and at that time we said that, you know, Region 1 was doing a phenomenal job, but think about it, when you're a region organization, you still have a lot of other crimes that you have to investigate, and you have a lot of balls in the air. And so we made a decision back at the beginning of June, on June 6th specifically, to transfer this case to the Organized Crime Division. And in a matter of 9 days, they were able to put a case together. The case came together very quickly because we were able to put the new eyes there. We put 100 members of this department, thanks to the leadership of Troy Gay, our assistant chief, but especially of Commander Deaton, that under the guidance of Assistant Chief Gay, put 100 folks to work on this case, put more analysts to work on this case. They basically put their operation on hold because lives were at risk, lives were on the balance here, and they were able to notice a pattern of Mr. Johnson actually reporting these crimes. And they were able to find that Mr. Johnson had actually called 911 on numerous occasions, and these investigators and this leadership cadre was so creative that they actually have talked to mathematicians to look at the probability of somebody seeing lightning strike in front of them, immediately in front of them, under these circumstances, and the probability was very, very low. In case, when you look at the number of cases that we have been able to find information in the CAD logs, which is the computer assisted dispatch logs, it is almost impossible. So I will tell you that there was some creative policing going on, and we were able to make this arrest. We have also made an arrest of another individual, or 2 other individuals that have been throwing rocks over the bridges that we don't believe are part of this series of events. And we have another person that we believe is a copycat, or 2 copycats that we're working on. And here's my message to the copycats: we're not going to stop. Mr. Johnson's probably going to spend the rest of his life in prison by the time we're done with him. And if you want to end up being a cellmate, a blockmate, go ahead and continue with your copycat. Because the only thing you're going to do is the technology and the methods that we are deploying, we will catch you, and I'm confident that we will be making an additional arrest of at least 1 copycat here in the very near future. The hotline for those that have information on any of these cases is still up. Our efforts are going to continue moving forward. The hotline again is 512-974-7999. That's 512-974-7999. Let me just say one last thing about the UT police officer. When that officer was driving along on the freeway, on the date that you all will get here in a minute, earlier this month, about a week ago, he had his camera rolling, and he believed that he saw a rock come from across the other side of the freeway. Fortunately, he was able to hit his brake. It did not strike his vehicle. Once we got that information from Chief Carter of the University of Texas Police Department, we were able to get the DMAV, and then our investigators, due to looking at this as a cold case, where they went back and they started analyzing, not just from an elimination of suspect standpoint, but analyzing the CAD data to see if there's anything they can find the CAD data. When you have 100 people that are able to stop and put everything down, they were able to, they had already identified Mr. Johnson as a highly probable suspect in again, quite a few of these cases. When we got that video, our detective actually ran Mr. Johnson to see what vehicles he has registered his name, and we can tell you that based on the video that at least, again, this 1 count that we have him under arrest for, and we have the signed warrant and the arrest order from the judge, $250,000. It is definitively him. Mr. Johnson has been interviewed once, at least once, by investigators, and he has confessed to at least 2 cases. Again, that's how we tied in the UT PD piece. The last thing I want to tell you is this, that the investigation continues, is ongoing, and we really believe that because of the efforts of the awesome police department, starting with our Region 1 folks and ending with our OCD, Organized Crime Division, that we have the person in custody who is responsible for the lion's share of those 94 cases, and we are very confident with a high degree of certainty that he's responsible more than likely for the 3 cases that resulted in the serious injuries, but especially the one case that it had a really devastating impact on the victim and their family, lifelong impacts. And we already have information that ties him into that case. And so, again, at the end of the day, we believe we'll have attempted murder charges filed on Mr. Johnson and many other cases of aggravated assault and attempted aggravated assault. With that, I'll open it up to any questions.
What's his motive here? Was it a hero complex? Is he trying to drum up business for his tow truck?
I don't know what his motive is.
Chief, since this started 2 years ago, first it was on those bridges along the upper decks, then it moved to Glenberg. Do we think Johnson changed his MO as this went on, or was he responsible for one of those MOs?
We believe that he's responsible for the lion's share of these cases. And again, the most important piece is we believe he's responsible for the most serious injuries in these cases. And I can tell you that by the time we're done, we will be able to prove which ones he's responsible for. What else?
Did he tow any of the cars that were suspected?
I don't know.
Can you talk about his roommate?
No.
What was it exactly that led up to an arrest at 4 a.m. today?
It was time.
Was there another attempt last night?
It was time to make an arrest. It was time to make an arrest and bring him in. And so that was a decision that the investigators made under the leadership of these men that you see back here. And it was the right time, and we brought him in.
So I guess I'm asking if that last set of rock throwings, because we've seen them these last few weekends, if they provided your investigators with just that last bit of info.
No, like I said, you have to remember what I just said a few minutes ago. The OCD division put most of their caseload at a significant part of their division came to a standstill. We reassigned them on June 6th, and they dedicated 100 sworn members of the department of their division, plus a lot of other assets. And we just, again, it was looking for a needle in a haystack. We got lucky. We started looking at different data points, different data sets that we were, and looking at it with a fresh set of eyes. This series was no different than a cold case and homicide where after a while the investigation is done by the first unit, and then we move it over to cold case, because in cold case is a new set of eyes with a different perspective and a different approach. And so we just got very fortunate. I think some dedicated individuals, and most importantly, the victims themselves. Too often in this country, victims of crime don't report those crimes. And I'm very proud of the fact that we in the city of Austin have a relationship with as a police department with the community that we serve, where people, whether they're English speaking, Spanish speaking, whether they're Christian or Muslim, doesn't matter. This diverse, richly diverse community trusts its police department to do 2 things. Number 1, to take their incidents seriously. Number 2, they know they're going to be treated with respect and dignity, and that we're actually going to work hard. And so I think that if it wasn't for people taking the time to report these, you know, how many times have people been victimized, no matter what the crime is, where they don't even bother reporting it? And so I think the fact that people took the time to report the crime was a big part of, and the number of people that took the time to report the crime gave us the rich data sets that we were able to analyze as an organization to lead to Mr. Johnson being a person of primary interest.
So what happens to the reward money at this point? Does the person in the car get it? Does the UTPD officer get it? Does that person who reported the earlier suspect get it?
No, I think the reward money, the Austin Police Department already had this person identified as a person of interest. I have a sneaking suspicion that that money is going to remain in the hands of the people that offered it. And I want to thank those folks. But you know what? We may determine that there's a significant copycat out there. So again, my message to the copycats is we're not standing down. We're going to continue because we know that we have at least one person of interest on multiple cases that has been throwing rocks from a moving vehicle, and we believe that we'll be having another arrest forthcoming in that case. And so the copycats that want a copycat, go ahead, because you're going to end up in prison right along Mr. Johnson.
Chief, a week ago we were here, you were talking about you were going to move it to organized crime. You just said that you had identified some suspicious things and showing up on scene, making reports. more than just a coincidence. Did you identify that since moving this to organized crime, or did you even know that before last week?
No, we organized crime again division put that piece of it together. I think that the way that we have been approaching it is trying to look at suspect information based on known information and leads from the suspects out there, limited as it was. And so again, one of the reasons that we moved it is we wanted a new set of eyes to look at it. And so they had a detective say, you know what, I want to start looking to see if there are any names pop up from a witness standpoint, a 911 call standpoint, to see if anything popped up. And so that's one of the reasons that we want to change it up, is we wanted to change up our approach. And that's what led to Mr. Johnson being a person of interest. And then, you know, we got very fortunate that the next day, within a day or within a couple of hours, we learned that there's this UT police officer that had his dashboard camera that might have captured, and did in fact capture, a vehicle. And based on a lot of the analysis that we did, the only vehicle that could have potentially been a suspect vehicle is a vehicle that happens to be the one that looks just like Mr. Johnson's. So I don't want to get too much into the details, into the weeds. There will be plenty of time for that. But there's a lot of work yet to be done in this case. Because we're not happy with just one count of attempted aggravated assault. Again, we believe when we're done, we'll have at least one, if not up to 3 counts of attempted murder. Anything else?
You say he confessed to 2 of the cases?
Two instances, yes.
You said he was well known in the community. Did he have any harassment towards you guys, like Austin Police?
Well, I don't want to talk about that. I can just tell you that the timing of when this series of events started after we initiated another investigation that he's a subject of, that has nothing to do with rock throwing. And I'm not going to say any more on that.
What does the continued investigation entail going forward?
The continued investigation entails two things. Number one, building cases against Mr. Johnson, who again is responsible for a lion's share of these 94 cases. Continuing to build that, and I'm not going to tell you what we're going to be looking at, because I'm not in the business of giving away our methods. It's just not smart. I know that for some reason that's important to the media, but when we do that, we end up making the next victim, and the probability of catching that suspect, we end up hurting that. I mean, like an Osama bin Laden type of thing. We all know what happened with him. And so I'm not in the business of publicizing that. When it becomes a court record, if you decide to do that, then it's on you. It's not going to be on the police department.
Austin Police Chief Art Acevedo beginning to wrap up a news conference announcing the arrest of this man, 59-year-old Patrick Eugene Johnson. Police believe that he is responsible for the lion's share of 94 rock-throwing cases that have plagued the city of Austin for the past 2 years, frightening and angering tens of thousands of drivers along Interstate 35. 3 people suffering from very serious injuries due to the rock-throwing cases, and others injured as well. We are going to have continuing coverage of this, of course, at our website, kxan.com, and we'll have a full and complete report for you coming up on KXAN News tonight at 5 and 6 o'clock. Until then, I'm Robert Hadlock reporting live, and we're going to return you now to Dr. Phil.
This has been a breaking news alert from KXAN News.